All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Some things change while some things remain the same. And in this scenario, quarterback Aaron Rodgers continues to arguably be the biggest diva that the NFL has ever seen. Now, in a recent interview with Pat McAfee, Rodgers expressed his frustration with the New York Jets about his release from the team last month. Most notably, Rodgers was not thrilled that the new Jets regime made him fly from California to New York to meet in person with new Jets head coach Aaron Glenn and new general manager Darren Mogi, just for them to tell him that his services would no longer be needed with the team. But at the end of the day, all Glenn did was to give Rodgers a taste of his own medicine. Now, Rodgers has an ego like no other, and that's the case because for the most part in his NFL career, he's been allowed to do whatever he wants to do, okay? But like I said before, finally we've seen somebody in Glenn who was not afraid to stand up to Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, like I said before when the Jets made the decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers, what did he expect? Aaron Glenn and Darren Mogi are not attached at the hip to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Glenn is looking to establish his program with the Jets. And with that said, he wants everybody to be fully committed. So it means none of these darkness retreats, weekly appearances on the Pat McAfee show, all of that stuff. No, all of that stuff's out of the window. And if Rodgers wasn't going to be a team player, then you know what? You've got to expect that. So it's for me at this point of Aaron Rodgers' career. Um, it's one of those where, and I'm looking at this whole thing with him being released, and he's frustrated, he's in his feelings, whatever. It's one of those where you got to look back and say, hey, no matter how the Jets handle this, Aaron Rodgers would have complained. If the Jets had emailed Aaron Rodgers, called him, sent him a text message, sent him a message via Pony Express, okay, whatever, he would have found a way to complain about it. And the fact that, you know what, it was a face to face meeting, it was brief, according to him. And I believe him from that standpoint because, hey, Aaron Glenn laid down the law and he wanted him to be committed to this team, which Aaron Rodgers clearly was not. And Aaron Glenn is not going to sit up there, or he wasn't going to sit up there and allow Aaron Rodgers to do to him what happened to his predecessor with the Jets and Robert Saleh. And that is because, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, ingratiated themselves to Aaron Rodgers because they were desperate for Aaron Rodgers because their jobs were on the line. That is not the case with Aaron Glenn. He has his quarterback at least for 2025 in Justin Fields. And at the end of the day, he wants a locker room full of guys who are committed to the New York Jets. And at the end of the day, the Jets went 5-12 with Aaron Rodgers last year. They can go 5-12 without, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Are the feelings of Aaron Rodgers hurt? Absolutely. But you know what? Again, to me, I think Aaron Glenn simply gave him a taste of his own medicine because for so many years, it's been Aaron Rodgers who has been out there dictating things to teams, dictating things to organizations. And the Jets this time said, absolutely not. And I'm in the category of saying, hey, we saw Aaron Rodgers' interview on Pat McAfee, okay? And in my opinion, the interview lets you know that Aaron Rodgers still wants to play, but at the end of the day, he still wants to go out there and call the shots because as far as playing in 2025, Rodgers did not give anybody a definitive answer, which for me is code for I still want to play. And he's basically going out there and saying, hey, I'll play for 10 million. Yeah, of course, because you got that jet money coming your way. But I think at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers still does not want to go through all of the bells and whistles of OTAs and training camps. And for the quarterback position, more than any other position in the National Football League, those reps with the receivers and OTAs and in training camps and in off-season workouts when you're not even at the team facility, those are so important, especially if you are going to a new team and a new organization. We saw it hurt Rodgers with the Jets, especially coming off of that injury. Now, at the end of the day, the New York Giants wanted Aaron Rodgers. Okay, first they were looking at Matthew Stafford. They talked to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers couldn't give the Giants a definitive answer. And you know what? The Giants said, you know what? We're not going to sit around here and wait. We're going to go out there and get ourselves some quarterbacks. And they went and got Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. And there's still a possibility that next week New York will draft a quarterback at some point in the early stages of the NFL draft. The Minnesota Vikings, who were possibly rumored to be a landing spot for Rodgers, as he could have taken the Brett Favre track, if you will, Packers, Jets, and Vikings. But the Vikings said thanks, but no thanks as well. And honestly, for my money, the Pittsburgh Steelers should follow suit. Okay. It's at the point I feel that if Rodgers were to play in the 2025 season, the Steelers would probably be his best option. But if I am the Steelers, I would avoid this guy because guess what? You need a leader at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers is not a leader. Okay, he's going to come in there. He's going to finger point. He's going to deflect, criticize, criticize. You name it. And they don't need that. And I honestly, Pittsburgh is a city. I don't think Pittsburgh as a city, as far as the fans and the media, all of that stuff, would warm up to Aaron Rodgers there. They need somebody to be on the same page on offense, especially if you're talking about a quarterback coming into a room where you got George Pickens and DK Metcalf already at wide receiver. You don't need the Aaron Rodgers situation, in my opinion. They need somebody to be there at practice. They need somebody to be there at OTAs, team activities, lead. He's not going to be that guy. And like I said, his act wore thin in the New York area, big media market. But nonetheless, the folks in the Steel Town ain't going to go for that. So I look at it like this for Rodgers. I truly do think he wants to play again because the bad taste in his mouth of going 5-12 last year as a starter to finish his career. I know he threw 28 touchdowns, but it wasn't typical Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And I know at this point in his career, you can't expect him to go out there and be the A Rod that he was 10 years ago. But nonetheless, he would want to finish on a better note. But at the end of the day, for that to happen, for Aaron Rodgers to continue his career in the NFL as a starting quarterback, he has to do something which I doubt that he's ever done as a football player, which is to humble himself. And at this point, like I said before, I felt like with Russell Wilson leaving the Steelers, with Justin Fields leaving the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers probably felt like, you know what, he has some leverage, and the Steelers can be patient as they want to be, all that they want. But at the end of the day, if they sign him or they bring him in, it's going to be divisive. It's not going to make that team better. I guarantee you that. So, with all of that said, you have to ask yourself, has the NFL had enough of Aaron Rodgers? And I think the bulk of the league has. Your quarterback has to lead. Your quarterback has to be your hardest worker. Your quarterback has to set the tone for your organization. Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. Okay, and that is a big reason why I think it would be a recipe for disaster for the black and gold to bring him in next season. The bottom line is, like I said before, credit to Aaron Glenn for laying down the law. He wants to establish his program with the Jets. I am not saying that the Jets are going to be Super Bowl contenders here in 2025. But what I am saying is that Aaron Glenn wants 53 good guys that are committed to the New York Jets. You can't do it with 52 guys being committed, and that one guy is the most important guy on your football team. Like I said before, Aaron Glenn stood up to Aaron Rodgers. And of course, Aaron Glenn faced Aaron Rodgers just like he did his entire playing career in the NFL as a corner with no fear. Aaron Glenn has a coach like that, as a defensive coach. And now I think he's going to bring that same mindset to the head coaching spot with the New York Jets. But nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers can be in his feelings all that he wants to. But at the end of the day, Aaron Glenn had to put his foot down with him. And I think a lot of people around the NFL are doing the same. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for checking this out. And if you haven't already, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. Also, if you're in the Instagram, just like the X, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I said, you follow me, I'll follow you right back. Also, check me out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. As far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Check it out, and you can be a part of it as well. But once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.